Welcome to the Played Out Wait Out Show. A lot's happened for Tennessee Vols and the transport portal. Of course, I'm sure y'all know as much as Tennessee fans follow the Tennessee Vols. But before we, and obviously it's just me and Wyatt, but before we get started, I want to talk a little bit about the two UT Vols that actually got drafted. I know Josh Palmer was actually, he surprised me. I didn't expect to see him to go in the third round, 13th in the third round, 77th overall. So, Wyatt, I guess the first thing I want to ask you, man, how do you think he's going to do for the Chargers?
I think Josh Palmer is an absolute steal for the Chargers. A lot of people may disagree with me, but 3 years he's playing behind Callaway and Jennings, who are both in the NFL now. Um, and had he got drafted into a terrible team, might be having a different opinion. But he's going to be having Herbert throwing to him. Keenan Allen, that's the guy that when defenses are playing the Chargers, they're looking at him to shut him down. So I think Palmer, I would not be surprised to see him really pop off this first year with the Chargers and have a. Now he's not gonna go in there and have 1,000 receiving yards, but have a very solid. I would expect to have a very solid rookie year with the Chargers starting off.
Oh, okay. You made a good point with the fact that he was sitting behind a couple guys that were pretty talented, man. But I was really underimpressed. If that's, anyways, I was unimpressed with him. This past year, I feel like he dropped a lot of balls, and in the people I watched a little bit of the draft, and they were bragging about his ball security. But they did highlight the fact that I don't know what senior bowl game he actually went to. They said he did a very, very good job against some very good DBs that actually got drafted in the NFL. So we'll wait and see. He definitely got, I agree with you 100%. He definitely got into a good situation where it seems like that guy, Herbert, like you said, is trending up, and they're definitely going to try to throw the ball around. Plus, he has some pretty good, what would you say, mentors over there. Because I can't remember his name, but you have the guy that came from Clemson that was really Williams that was balling when
Yeah.
they won. Yeah, and then you also have the other one that was actually been doing it longer. I can't even remember his name because I'm terrible with names. But that's okay. But moving along, then our second guy we had drafted, which was was really disheartening for me because I know Trey Smith. He was drafted the 42nd pick of the sixth round, and 226 overall to the Chiefs. How do you feel he's going to do? Do you think he's going to have a career because of all the health concerns that they have for him?
Jesse, well, I think this is the biggest sign of disrespect that I've ever seen. From a Tennessee player taking the NFL draft. Teams are going to regret it if he can stay healthy. The guy just played 2 years, hadn't had a problem with a blood clot since. So if he continue to do that, talk with doctors, not let the blood clots impact his playing, teams are going to absolutely regret this. Trey Smith is as good as any offensive lineman in this draft class, and I just pray he can stay healthy so he can prove all the doubters wrong like we know he can.
Okay. Well, I'm definitely rooting for him. He definitely has shown to have some major character, kind of like what we were talking about with Garantano. But the difference is he was quality at what he did. That being said, I'm definitely rooting for him. Like everybody knows, I'm a Minnesota Vikings fan. In the last 3 years, or maybe even four, their offensive line has been atrocious. And so I was rooting like crazy because I feel like they had, if I remember correctly, they had 4 fourth-round picks and like 3 fifth-round picks. I was like, man, what are we doing here? Because like you said, first of all, at that point, like my friend Mario says, man, especially the first 2 rounds, you're drafting starters or needs, or unless it's a franchise quarterback. The first 2 rounds, and then the other ones you're getting quality backups. Like I said, 3 and 4th round. But man, at 5th, 6th, and 7th, man, you're getting the best prospects. So a lot of those guys,
Diamonds in the rough.
right? A lot of those guys, I don't think even make the team. So what's it gonna hurt? You're not wasting like you said, you might waste a pick, which most of the times what happens in the 5th round, or you might strike gold like they did with Stephon Diggs. He was actually in the 5th round, and why? Because of a blown knee. So I was disappointed with the Vikings, but overall, I feel like they had this is not a Vikings show, but they had a good draft. Go ahead, Glad. I'm sorry.
And one thing that is so hard to find in young players these days is leadership abilities, and there's none better than Trey Smith. Also,
Right.
He's shown on and off the field he does nothing but help lead the younger guys. So if he can make it veteran, he's gonna. A lot of the NFL teams are gonna be regretting this.
Right. So, but I mean, I'm really I hate it for him because I mean they were acting like wasn't he the number one player in the country coming out of high school? I know he was the number one offensive lineman, right?
Yeah, depending on what recruiting site you looked at, but he was, top 10, top 5, almost every recruiting site. I read something from an NFL scout. They could not overlook the blood clot issues because that's just so. It was something to them. It was just so unpredictable, and I get it, but the guy's gone 2 years with his doctors on the same medical kind of path that they took, and has had no issues since then. So. I get it, but at the same time, I think you're, like you said, 5th, 6th, 7th round. I mean, it's you're going to be cutting most of those guys anyways in the next 2-3 years.
There goes the train. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Go ahead. There goes the train. Another interesting thing that I learned watching. Go ahead.
Sorry, I don't want to interrupt you, but should we give a shout out to Bryce Thompson? He didn't get drafted, but he was signed.
Oh, good point.
He was signed free agent by the Saints. Saints are adding. It was Saints, right?
I don't know.
I think it was the Saints. I think the Saints are adding another Vol, so we're all about to be Saints fans probably if the Vols can't.
And actually,
keep up.
that segues nicely into another thing that's kind of a hot topic I saw, where Georgia signed in the NIL whatever law, which is name, image, and name, image, and likeness. But I know that a couple of things one thing that really stood out in that new bill that 5 states have, if you don't know, which I'm sure you do, 5 states signed into law. You have California, which started it, New Mexico, Georgia, Florida, and Mississippi. But what they said about that is I believe it's in basketball and football. You can go to the draft, see if you get a draft, as long as you don't sign with the agent, and potentially come back to school. I mean, did you hear anything? Do you know anything about that as far as when that part of it is in place, or do you know? I don't.
I know that's already in place in basketball because we've had. Tennessee has had a couple guys do that in basketball. They've gone, entered their name into the draft, gone to the combines and stuff, and draft guys say, hey, you've got potential, but you're just not ready for the league yet, and then they come back. And I think that will be a good thing because Tennessee's coach has always encouraged his players to go and do that, to get an opinion of where you're at from a professional top of the game. So I don't think that's any coaches would be upset about that coming to football.
No, I mean it's already the wild, wild west with the way the transport portal has turned. At any rate, one more thing I wanted to say about the NFL draft as far as with Tennessee players. What's interesting about that, which I think is interesting, another thing I learned, they said that 500 less players. I don't know why. I think some of it was because of the pandemic. 500 less players were actually in the draft. And, man, it feels like if that were the case, it felt like Trey Smith wouldn't even got drafted.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I didn't know that. Again, that was a comment I heard from Mike Zimmer, one of his interviews, that's what the Vikings GM, even though this isn't the Vikings, I'm sorry. I'm not going to say anything else about them, but that they had 500 less players in the draft. So if that were the case, it feels like we only would have had 1 draft pick.
Yeah.
So I have one more thing, and if there is anybody watching, there's one thing I would like. In 1998, Tennessee had 3 first rounders with who was it? I think was it Terry Fair, Nash, and obviously Peyton Manning. Since then, do you know the last time Tennessee has had 3 first-round draft picks?
Let's see here.
Do you know? And if there's anybody watching, we like to know if you know, and please comment.
I know it wasn't 2016 because Derek Barnett was the only 2016 first rounder.
Right.
Because that's going to be a lot of people's guess. It wasn't 2016. I'd say it probably would have been. Was it the year probably? I guess Dan Williams, Gerard Mayo both went. I'm going to guess that 2008 year is that's going to be my guess.
Actually, it was the last time it happened was in 2002 when John Henderson went to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Dante Stallworth, like you were talking about, went to the Saints. And then Albert Hainsworth obviously went to the Tennessee Titans.
Wow.
So it's been a long time since we've had I feel like there was one more time in the 2010-ish whatever, that they had 2 first-round draft picks. But I'm looking forward, enough about the draft, what is relevant to this show is I'm looking forward to when Tennessee can have multiple first-round draft picks and hopefully 5 or 6 draft picks at least in every draft.
Yep.
as opposed to having one last year, two this year.
What
Possibly, if there was 500 more players, possibly not even two.
what Alabama have? What 6 first rounders this
Did
year?
they?
Or so
It was
7,
something to that,
like
yeah. So, okay, enough about that. So, as all of y'all know, there's been plenty of things happening in the transport portal for and against Tennessee. I guess we want to start bad or work. I mean, good or bad first. Which one you want to do, Wyatt?
I always like my dessert first. So
Okay, you like your dessert first? Okay. So obviously, I don't think we did talk about Milton from Michigan. So I guess we don't have to. What was? Oh, we had that. We have a player that from Mississippi State. What was his name?
Javonte
Payton. How you feel about him?
I'm really excited about Javonte Payton. Actually, he's a Tennessee boy from Tennessee, so he's coming back to his home state. Also, he's going to be playing with a chip on his shoulder because if you're active on Twitter, keeping up with social media, all the Mississippi State fans are kind of dogging him, telling him, he's a quitter and he's leaving just because the receiver room is full at Mississippi State. So he's coming in with a chip on his shoulder to prove everybody, man, that's not the reason I'm leaving. I'm out here, I'm ready to grind, and Mississippi State just wasn't the place for me. Mike Leach, he's coming in with a chip on his shoulder, and with Josh Heupel's offense, that's only going to help him produce more.
Okay, I'm kind of like indifferent, I guess. I mean, it's always good to add depth. I feel like, like I was telling you, I can't remember Roby Anderson. What seems like he's going to come on as a wide receiver. It looks a lot of like they're high on Tillman, as everybody knows, I'm sure. So I feel like there's enough depth there. I mean, how many balls can you throw around? But obviously, there's nothing wrong. They say he's a speedster, right?
Yeah, he's a speedster.
So, I mean, obviously, everybody loves speed in this new offense. We got to have the speed and all that. So why not?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm kind of – but I don't think it's going to be – in baseball, what do they call it? Over under, as far as what one player brings to the table.
They call it the war. That's like their war. It's like the war statistic.
I don't know. I'm not
something.
Okay, because
Yeah.
like one guy, they're like, this guy's worth 20 games over the course of a season.
Yeah, like a player's like best war will be around like 2 usually in a baseball season.
Oh, I thought they were okay. Well,
Yeah.
Oh, okay, but I don't know. But I thought it's way more than that. Like Bryce Harper or something. They argue with whatever.
It might be.
Okay, I wish there was
yeah.
something like that. I guess the only reason I was bringing that up is because I don't feel like this guy is going to say, "Oh, we're going to win 2 more games."
Oh
of
no,
this guy.
yeah, he's not gonna bring it. I like him because the chip on his shoulder. He's a Tennessee guy. That's what I'm excited about. We need more Tennessee guys around the program.
Now,
so.
who I'm definitely more excited about. We obviously got Jawan. Oh yeah, I'm sorry, viewers. If we have any, how do y'all feel about Parker? We want to hear what y'all have to say. That's really the a big part of the show.
Javonte Payton.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I said Parker. I apologize. Yes. That's the problem with going live, right? So, Jawan Mitchell, linebacker from Texas or Tejas for all the Spanish-speaking people. Go ahead.
What is there not to be excited about? We can, offense. I was excited about the guy, but we've said so many times on the show, offense is not our concern. Defense is our concern headed into next year. And we need all the help we can get. And this guy just led Texas in tackles last year. And so I hate to say it, but this day and age, kids commit to a coach rather than a program. That's just the way it is in these days. And so his coach Herman got fired from Texas, looking to go somewhere else. And we'll gladly have a new leading tackler on our team after we'll talk about it later. But we had another guy leave that he's going to be replacing next year. So all help we can get on defense. I'm excited.
Okay. Then who was the other one we got from USC? Caleb Tremblay?
Caleb Tremblay.
Yeah. Go ahead.
He was a 4-star recruit coming out of high school. Big 6'5", 270-pound defensive lineman. Like I said before, we need all the help we can get on defense. Absolutely all the help there. I mean, we could take probably 20 transfer portals on our defensive side, and I still say it wouldn't be enough heading next year. So all the help we can get on defense. Really excited that we add those 2 guys.
I guess I was watching a YouTube video and he said that what he read. So I'm not gonna act like I read the article. What this guy said, this is a business trip. So I guess he's trying to jump to the league. That's gonna be interesting. I guess he has a lot of faith in the defensive coaching staff to get him there. So that's neat. Like you said, we need all the help we get. Who else did we?
He took a little jab. People are saying, you can't look in too much into social media from these guys, but he tweeted. Ready to play in front of 100,000 fans every single weekend. And so maybe he's taking a little jab at Texas fans. They hadn't showed up, stuff. So I'll tell you one thing about Tennessee fans: we show up no matter how bad we are. That's been the one constant of the football program. So
Right, and plus we're glutton for punishment. We definitely. Oh, anyway, I'm just joking. I guess they were talking about, again. This is old news, but we're just talking about it on this show. There's some old news. There's been rumors going around from Austin Price. I think he's a writer for was which one is it? Vol.
he switched around.
Okay, well they were talking about. They were saying that this DeJohn Terry from Kansas might come to Tennessee. How do you feel about that? Now I know. I was watching, what was that dude's name? On Talking Vols Network. He does a great job as far as he's saying that they were talking about how they get too many more. It's going to start taking away from the scholarships for the next recruiting class. I guess, how do you feel about him coming? He was a 2-star coming out of, if you don't know a little bit of something, but you might, but he was Booger, that's his name, or Boogie Bentley. He was talking about how he was a 2-star coming out of Mississippi, but he only played 1 year of high school football, and apparently all the Kansas coaches, defensive, they're really high on this guy. And so anyways, go ahead. I'm sorry, I just wanted to give you, if you didn't know that, you might already knew that.
I think that kind of, my opinion would kind of depend on what kind of circumstance we're in. If we're Alabama, I'd say no, we don't need all these transfers coming in right now. But the shape of our program's in right now, we need ready to go guys right now.
I'm glad you said that.
And so I'm
glad you said that.
I'm saying bring on as many transfers as we can get this year.
But I mean, I'm agreeing with you, even if it does go into the scholarships in the future, because at this point, these guys have been they've been lifting weights. Mm-hmm. They kind of even though it's not at Tennessee, they have an understanding of what college football is like. Mm-hmm. So they're ready to go. And I mean, in what history has shown us with the last few coaching staffs that we had in Knoxville is, hey man, you got 3-4 years at best if you're not winning. Yeah. So as far as for him, he's like, man, I want guys. Now the difference is we talked about, like they said, the USC guy, he only has 1 year of eligibility left. Mitchell has 2. If he has a great year, he'll probably jump to the pros. But the thing that's neat about this guy, Terry, he actually has like 3 to 4 years left of eligibility. So my thing is, if he's already balling at Kansas, man, hey, go get him. I don't care if it costs. Another guy that they were talking about, I guess he what's his name? Jordan Anthony from Michigan, which I guess people were underwhelmed with his production because I believe that he was rated the #1 linebacker coming out of high school. So bring him, as far as I'm concerned. Yeah.
Especially defensive side of the ball, bring him. And I don't know if any viewers watched any Michigan games last year, but it's like a lot of Michigan fans were blaming Milton last year, and that play calling was just awful. Milton wasn't really too flashy for Michigan, so I'm telling Tennessee fans to pump the brakes on Milton being excited. But we also got to remember Michigan was just very poorly coached last year, so I wouldn't be too worried about the production if we get any more Michigan transfers coming in for next year. Right.
I'm not worried about that either, but like you said, get ready to play golf. And what was the last one they had? Oh, a local, Jay Harden from Macaulay.
Yep.
I guess
Jay Harden from Macaulay.
Yeah. He's transferring from Auburn. So I mean, would you be happy to have him?
Oh yeah, especially the guy that recruited him to Auburn is now our defensive line coach. So. Bring him on to Tennessee. He's from Chattanooga. Like I said, I'd love having Tennessee boys on the team. He's familiar with Coach Gardner and what he's bringing to the table. He recruited him, had him at Auburn last year. So, bring him on to Tennessee. He's already familiar.
Surely he wants to come home, right?
Yeah, I think so.
And it's that happy medium. It's only 2 hours away from home. You can go to your mama if you need to, if you know, or you can go away 2 hours. You can she can't just be, all up in your apartment and things like that. So, I mean, I feel like it's a happy medium. What was I going to say? You wanted to go ahead. What was the guys we lost. Now we're on the bad side. And again, with friends or foes or whatever, we want to know, what do y'all have to say about these guys? But go ahead.
So, I'll start out with the one that hurts the most just because I thought he had an excellent freshman year. Played played a little bit sketchy, I thought, last year, sophomore year, but just sideline to sideline, I think one of the best linebackers in the country. Is Henry To'o.
I'm terrible names.
yeah.
Still,
Has officially announced he's transferring to Alabama, and that absolutely, that as a Tennessee fan, that just cuts deep. I understand the kid transferring, but him transferring to our biggest, most hated rival, it hurts. Here's what I'll say about it. The kid, he's a 20-year-old kid. He doesn't deserve the hate he's going to get, but also at the same time, you got to understand that he's going to get it. That's just part of it. We're SEC, very passionate. He's going to get hate.
what kind of level of hate you think is going to get?
I mean, just, I think what's acceptable, getting booed and kneeling. I think that's acceptable. Stuff like that. Nothing.
Everybody gets that, though,
Yeah,
don't they?
I mean, I understand he's a kid. People say, "Oh, he's a kid. He's making the best decision for him." Yes, but I'm like, what's a respectable response from Tennessee fans? I mean, we got our best player committing to go play for our most hated rival. I mean, are we supposed to just be happy with that? No. So, kid probably doesn't deserve the hate, but he's gonna get it, and I can't blame Tennessee fans for it.
You know what's so fun now? I mean, I'm disheartened that he actually went to Alabama. I'm totally with you. However, if he didn't play last year, do you think how many more games do you think we would have lost? This kind of goes back to that baseball thing I was asking you about. I mean, do you think we would have lost? Do you think we would have lost?
We may have lost to South Carolina. He made a couple really big plays in South Carolina.
That's a very good point.
We still beat Missouri and Vanderbilt pretty handedly.
Okay.
So
he was worth one win.
Yeah.
I mean, now it was a different. It's well, everybody thinks it's going to be a different circumstance with the wide open offense and et cetera, et cetera. I don't know if we lose. I don't know if him not being on the team, we're going to lose 2 more games or lose 1 more game.
Yeah.
I'm kind of, as much as, like I said, obviously you don't want him to go. You don't want him to go to Alabama for all that. For obvious reasons. Mm-hmm. However, it's kind of like, man, I don't know if it's going to be since we don't have him, we're going to lose 2 more games. You know what I mean?
And if Jawan Mitchell can come in and not skip a beat,
it's a wash. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
potentially a wash.
Yeah.
Because I tell you who I was on. Who went to Michigan State?
Quavarius Crouch.
Crouch, man. I mean, I personally, he was a 4-star coming out of South Carolina, right?
Yeah, athlete, big time athlete.
Man,
too.
I tell you, man. I mean, not trying to judge, but I was like, man, I barely heard his name called.
Yeah, I expected a lot of things from him coming out of high school. I don't know if Pruitt just underused him, didn't utilize him enough, or what. But yeah,
right. But it definitely. I didn't shed a tear.
Yeah.
Besides depth reasons, I'm just like, oh man, that dude was out there making plays. I mean, I didn't really see that a lot, so I'm kind of like, whatever.
Yeah, and then after Henry To'o, I guess we can go ahead and start calling Tennessee the minor leagues for the University of Oklahoma, because we had 3 guys transfer over to Oklahoma. We had, Wanya Morris started last year, past couple years, I think. We had Keyshawn Lawrence. He didn't really play much last year, but was a top nationally recruited guy out of high school. And then, of course, Eric Gray, the one that hurt the most at running back. So, yeah, we've got 3 of our top players now heading over to Oklahoma. So those are probably those 3. Then Henry To'o, those are probably the 4 that are going to hurt us the most.
I feel like the one that hurts me the most is, like you said, the second guy. What's his name again? Because I'm terrible with names. Like I said,
Eric Gray or Wanya Morris.
No, the safety.
The Keyshawn Lawrence.
Yeah, because he's from Tennessee, right?
Yeah, he's from Tennessee.
Well, obviously, Gray is from Tennessee too. But I mean, that one doesn't bother me. I feel like the running back stable is pretty stocked pretty well. So I mean, even though Gray was very smooth, I enjoyed watching him. Always nice to see a Tennessee boy ball out for Tennessee. I'm not necessarily gonna miss his productivity, I don't think. But anyways, we have our first comment. Hey, James, thank you, man. We appreciate it. Hopefully he'll be 3rd string over there. He's talking about Henry To'o. I mean, now I'm assuming he's gonna start.
Yeah. I was looking at a couple of Alabama message boards between, I'd look at them, see what the fans have to say, and they were talking about how they expect him to start over this year at Alabama. They're all pumped up about the transfer and stuff. So I mean, I'd be pumped up about it too if I was them. But as a Tennessee fan, I'm not happy.
Right. Well, thanks, James, for watching. You like how slow I read your comment? It was really easy to read, but I don't know why I read it so slow. Anyways, you ready to go, Wyatt?
What?
Are you looking at your watch? You ready to go?
No. I got an update about the Braves.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Braves bullpen. Any Braves fan needs some help. We just signed a guy. So
okay.
Yeah.
So, man, back to, I guess, since we have 5 more minutes, with all this portal in, portal out, if I'm not even saying that right, how do you feel about the transport portal, the way it's set up? I feel, actually, I want to hear what you have to say first. Why?
I've always thought that every single kid, because these are 17, 18-year-old kids when they make this decision. I've always thought that every kid should get just, one transfer per, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And then if they use that one transfer,
Mm-hmm.
then you got to sit out a year if you want to transfer. That's how I've always thought it should be.
Okay.
Maybe you can throw in a stipulation, something about you have to use that one transfer within your first 2 years, if you're not playing, something like that, because these are 17, 18-year-old kids, and coaches can just leave a drop of a hat,
Right.
I thought these kids should maybe get the same type of treatment, because, you can say, yeah, you got to go and you got to sit it out. You just got to work hard. Man, sometimes you get in there, it's just not a good fit. That's just the way. It's just not a good fit for kids.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've always thought that kids should get at least one transfer,
For free.
for free.
Essentially.
Yeah, essentially for free, not have to sit out. Now all this other stuff, how they're treating the transfer portal, kind of like a recruiting cycle now and stuff. It seems fine right now, but I don't know. I'm kind of going back and forth day to day on it, how I like it, how I don't like it.
Okay. I pretty much agree with what you're saying. I mean, because like you said, great point with the fact that, like you said, coaches can drop at the drop of a dime. Like, I wish, again, I'm terrible with names. I wish I can remember the guy who signed with Arizona State, and before, like, he was there like a month, and he went and took a better job. I'm like, man, that's no quote unquote loyalty, or what's the use in signing a contract if you can just jump and bail out like that? So, but the one thing I will say, on the other hand, because I agree with what you're saying as far as sometimes it isn't a good fit. However, in life, there's a lot of things that are not a good fit.
Yeah.
I do think that personally, it's fine. Like you said, I agree with you. Keep the free. What I would do wish they say, but you have to stay at least 2 years to see, because one of those can be redshirt.
Yeah.
To see if you can make a bad situation potentially better, because that's the reality of life.
Yeah.
The reality of life is hey, we're not gonna get the things that we like, and we're not gonna like our jobs, but can we make I don't know, the silver lining or whatever, make a bad situation better because of our mindset, regardless of what other people.
Well, yeah, that's 100%. Think it's.
I feel like it's a little swung a little bit too much more like what I said before, the wild wild west for sure. I think they need to find a way to kind of bring it back a little bit. Now, I'm not against the free. Like I said, I'm not against the free or the free transport. But, man, I know of two guys at different schools. They transferred in, 2 months later transferring out. I'm like, man, what? I mean, what? Come on, man.
Yeah.
That's not life. You can't just do that.
Yeah.
And because what we've always heard about football, hey, football is a game of life. We have another train. I'm sorry. Football is a game of life. And the last I heard, life is hard. In life, you're not going to always get ideal situations. Now, sometimes if you can help it, obviously, try to. But, man, sometimes you got to work through things. And then you realize, like, oh, the way I felt 2 years ago is not the way I feel today, because I changed my mindset. I changed the way I view things.
Yeah.
And you can maybe look at potentially a coach that you didn't like, and you're like, you know what? Regardless of what he says, I'm gonna do what I can do. I'm gonna work through this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So maybe that's just the old man talking, I guess. But so I do think they need to. I said all that to say, I feel like they need to find a little bit of a more happy medium.
Yeah, a little middle ground.
Yeah.
I think a lot of times these kids, they come in and they've been starters or stars their whole lives, from little league, middle school, high school. They've never had to sit the bench behind somebody because they've been so good. Now you get to college and these people are just as good as me. I'm sitting the bench behind them. That happens a lot. I mean, you look at Sharon Jones, quarterback from California. I don't think he ever got above third string on Tennessee's roster. Ended up transferring to Colorado, transferred back to Tennessee, transferred out to New Mexico State or something, and he never blew up. And that's just sometimes how it goes for these kids. They think they get in, they're not the starter, so they think, oh, it's just, it's where I'm at. They're not giving me a chance. They transfer here, and they just never. Yeah, I think it's a lot of these kids they've never had to sit the bench in their lives, and they don't. and they don't know what to do. They freak out. They just start transferring everywhere.
Another thing I do agree with, like that's one position that is kind of hard. There is 2 guards on offense. There's 2 tackles. There's 1 center, but you can play 5 different. You can potentially become the swing offensive lineman and get in there somehow. I do have a little more sympathy for quarterbacks because there's only one guy.
I think that's why they make quarterbacks eligible a lot than other positions in football. If you've looked, the guys that have transferred in the past, they allow that they don't always, but they're a lot more lenient on letting them be eligible than the other. They have. And
they tend
guys.
To be right, which I like I said, I guess I go be a little more sympathetic, even though quarterbacks get on my nerves for various reasons. But I'm that situation, play time, I understand. But even at that though, sometimes, hey man, ain't nothing wrong with sitting 2 years. Yeah. You still got 2 years. I mean, because everybody thinks they're going to make it to the league, right? So, I mean, Mac Jones and Joe Brady and all these people have proven you only need 1 good year, really, at the quarterback position. I mean, heck, sometimes it do you good just sit there and bide your time.
Yeah, sometimes extra years will hurt you. There have been guys. Who's that defensive lineman from Baylor that it was projected to be top 5 pick, and he came back for his senior year, whatever. I think he came back for his senior year, and his draft stock fell so bad they didn't even know if he was going to be a 3rd-round pick anymore. So, yeah.
Okay.
Cordero Patterson, too, 1 year at Tennessee. Guy's going to be a Hall of Famer.
Return man. Hey, hook or crook, right?
Yep.
So, I mean, hey, I like the guy. All right, then I guess we don't have any more comments. Guys, if you're watching, thank you so much. We appreciate your time. What are we going to talk about next 2 weeks from now? I don't know.
2 weeks, who knows?
Who knows?
But we'll find something. The player get arrested or something.
All right. Well, thank you so much. They're fading us out.
Go Vols.
Go Vols.